a versatile actor who excels on the screen and on the stage. Oscar nominated for his role in Brokeback Mountain. He's known for challenging roles in films like Nightcrawler and blockbusters such as Spider-Man: Far From Home. As founder of 9 Stories Productions, he brings compelling stories to life. His talent extends to Broadway, earning a Tony nomination for Seawall Alive. And recently, he's tackled legal dramas in Presumed Innocent and The Guilty. And he's also going to appear on Broadway in Othello with Denzel Washington. This underscores his ability to demonstrate his range in portraying complex characters in tense situations. It's my pleasure to welcome on stage our SVP of Go-to-Market, Keegan Chapman, and the one, the only, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Alrighty, well, let's give another hand for Jake here for flying all the way out. Thanks for coming. Really excited. So, as we were thinking about who we wanted here, we were thinking about people who had played maybe roles in legal or something like that. But then I really got thinking, who would I want here, to show some really important stuff, learn about maybe how they get ready for roles. So I was really curious how you got ready for Roadhouse. We all want to see that.
The ultimate legal drama.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Really, I'm kidding. Oh, there he is, guys. I don't think you just take cold showers to make that happen, but maybe that's just me.
I had to, there was other stuff that you had to do.
Yeah. All right, well, really, there are so many parallels between acting, entrepreneurship, being probably a lawyer or a business owner. Maybe it's learning the art of storytelling, maybe it's going above and beyond, maybe it's going too above and beyond based on what I've heard about you, I don't know. And maybe it really is about just a commitment to success. So that's what I want to talk about today. Even though you were the talk of the lawyer, or the talk of the elevator this week.
The talk of the lawyer.
The talk of the lawyer, right? I want to make sure everyone knows about Presumed Innocent. You good if we play a clip real quick? I didn't really shoot that one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's play that clip. That way we get everyone on the same page about how cool this is.
My name is Rusty Savage, and I am the prosecutor in this trial. Sitting over there is the accused, James McDavid. And I can tell you that he sits there not guilty, because that is what our Constitution demands. Now, I will present evidence to show you that the accused committed this crime. And should you find that to be likely, you gotta vote not guilty. Should you find that to be very likely, you have to set him free. My job is to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And being on a jury, that is a high calling. And being entrusted with the prosecution, satisfying the burden of proof, that is also a high calling. I will live up to my duty. And I ask that you rise up to yours. Let's do our jobs, shall we?
But based on what I heard around, I think everyone has already seen that. So, how did you prepare for this? Or even how did you decide you wanted to do this first and then prepare? I guess not to ask you a loaded question, but
Well, it has been my dream for a very long time to play a lawyer, and so obviously, I truly, I think. Well, first of all, it was an incredible team of people. Just kind of the behemoths of television, J.J. Abrams and David Kelly. And so, David Kelly is kind of the master of this sort of storytelling, and he was a lawyer himself. And so, and the writing was great. And I think for me, it was a really interesting position to be in where you put someone who is so good at their job and understands the law in the way that he does, this character does, in a very compromised position. Was just fascinating to me. It was kind of endless entertainment, and for me, I got to discover throughout the process, kind of being a lawyer and playing a lawyer, and then at the same time also just, I knew it was going to be really interesting and entertaining for people to watch. So it was a lot of things all at once, but it was a very intense world to create and to be in, and we didn't really know what was going to happen episode to episode either. So playing a lawyer where you don't actually know what's going to happen, but you do get early sort of sense of it, and then you're in the courtroom, arguing a case that you don't know how it's going to turn out.
I bet they kind of know something about that.
You guys know
There'd be a good
about
amount of people that know something about that, yeah. So how'd you prepare for it? How'd you become Lawyer Rusty?
It took years, a lot of years of just scrolling over lots of legal documents, just really working through. But thank God I had FileVine. Well, really, to me, I was really interested in the moral dilemma, and I have obviously a lot of lawyers around me, some of my family, I work with them, and this is sort of like a classic story. Scott Turow, who wrote the original book, many years ago, he's just an incredible writer of these types of stories and a lawyer himself. So for me, it wasn't necessarily getting into it, though we did speak with lawyers. We had an incredible advisor the entire time with us, guiding us through. I had lots of questions all the time, things I would ask, but what was interesting to me was the questions that I would ask in a scene, for instance, as an actor, would be similar probably to the questions that sometimes a lawyer would ask of the situation as well.
Yeah.
And though it's not the same in any form, really, we are performers also, and I found that connection. There had to be a sense of presentation, a sense of believing in what it is that you were saying, the story that I chose, I had to believe in deeply in order to deliver. And if I didn't believe in the story and I didn't really care about it, I couldn't give my heart to it. And what was interesting was when I spoke to a lot of lawyers, it was a similar feeling. You have to believe in what you're fighting for. And whatever's at stake, be it extremely high or anywhere in between, I think it has to be somewhere in your heart. And so that's similar, I think, as a performer. You need the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely, that makes sense. So let's talk a little bit more about it being kind of written as you were going, because this blew my mind. I was watching an interview of you, and I had no idea until after I watched the show. You guys were very convincing, by the way. I thought you knew.
You thought we were.
But how did that feel? Like, how did you wrap your mind around just being in that character in the moment and making sure that you were telling the right story in the courtroom?
I enjoyed not knowing at a certain point. Certain people would read, we'd get a draft in, and then you'd be working, and then one of the actors would have read it, and they would have been like, like come and look at what?
Did I do it?
I like it. At this point in my career, I like to be able to have different ways of going about it. I've never been someone who really wants to keep it the same way, though I do work very hard and I like to commit to the things that I do. I love how you can switch it up, your technique or your way in which you approach something can change. Sometimes I've done some things where I'm like absolutely driven to get to know absolutely everything and get into the character and live it. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you just see what happens, So I liked that. It was new. It was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I bet.
And I know how an audience feels when they watch it, because I felt the same way.
Yeah, doing it.
For 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. You're just watching a few episodes, you were living it. So.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Fake living it.
Yeah. So given that you spent a lot of time, in kind of a fake legal world, we'll call it, what was the most surprising thing you learned about the law? Anything new about it?
This is the most surprising thing I learned? I think, like I said, I think think that there's a real similar. I remember we got to the end, and I don't want to give anything away if anyone
Yeah,
wants to
don't
watch
give them
the
the
show.
end.
But
I heard a lot of people are on episode 4. That's at least what they said in the elevator.
a lot of people on episode 4. That's interesting.
Many
You gotta
people-
get me to episode 8.
And renewed for a second season, I just heard, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations.
I think what I loved was, you know, there's a part towards the end that's a very emotional part, and our advisor, who is a lawyer, an incredible lawyer himself, towards the end was very emotional watching, and I think because we had all really devoted ourselves to the case, you know, as actors, yes, but we had really devoted ourselves to it, and so had he. And I think what I realized was there's a real similarity, like I said, in the performance as a lawyer, in that, in the closing argument, which is for an actor, the soliloquy, you know, it's not different in that way, though you guys probably write it.
Yeah, you're just acting someone else.
Yeah, we're not doing that much, but
Yeah.
but there's something very similar to that, and I that was a real surprise to me and pleasant, because the coolest part about my job is that I get to play, you know, I get to learn about all these different worlds. It's the best part of it, and I have such great admiration for what you all do, for having been in it a little bit. And there's so many jobs that I have, of characters I've played, that have changed my life in learning about them. And this is definitely one of them. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people go through phases of life with how many movies and things you've been in. You've had lots of different lives.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I've been working since I was lucky enough since I was pretty young, and now I'm not. So.
Yeah. You know, okay, so storytelling, that's a topic that's come up through many times. I go on a lot of demos with a lot of our customers, and it's all about how can I make sure I have all the right information to be sharing the right story with our customers or our clients, or, you know, maybe it's in court too for them. How do you approach storytelling when you read a script, but you still have to make it yours, right?
Yeah.
So, kind of like.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that
Or you're just reading like, "Hi, I'm Jake." No, I've seen enough.
I mean, you know, the way I approach it is always like, I believe that freedom is on the other side of discipline, you know? And so I just try and, like, when you're thinking about stories, you're always trying to think about all the holes in which an audience might be thinking about, like, oh, there's this, and then, oh, but then what about that? Oh, how do we fill that? How do we make sure that there's, you know, so you get sort of, I look at it like this, like there's a large group and everybody's watching the story, and then let's say 75% of people go, okay, I buy that. But then there's 25% of people who will say, I don't know if I do. How do you then fill that doubt with a piece of story? How do you create that? So to me, I'm always looking at that. In terms of behavior, you know, I believe an actor, for instance, is like, we're like writing essays in behavior. You know, like someone else writes it and then we interpret it.
Yep.
So I just basically try my best to always figure out a way that is not what my first instinct, like what my first obvious instinct would be. What would be the other way I come, what angle would be more interesting. So I usually approach like that. And then just a lot of work, just trying to dig in, understand as much as I can, so I can let it go, so I can enjoy and have fun. I'm sure there's some similarity there, like, you know, just do your hard work so your instinct takes over.
Yep.
So you really you can
Get on that high and you're in that moment and you're just running.
Yeah, like us right now.
Yeah.
We're just like
Yeah, you should have seen us backstage. We were just jabbering, you know? So, I don't know if all of you noticed it, but at the end of that clip we showed, you do a subtle smirk at the end of it. So I want to talk a little bit about not the talking and the verbal cues, but the, you know, the facial expressions that you may add in to add to your storytelling.
the like little things.
The little things. I think those are what make the bigger difference.
They're everything. I mean, that's where we read. I think, you know, in a story like that, for instance, like, you know, you're walking into questioning, right? So you're looking and you're observing. So what's fun as an actor is to know that an audience is going to be looking and observing, and you might know what the end of that episode is or something, or what they might be projecting or thinking, and then you can kind of play against it or play for it. That was the best part of playing that character, was people going, you know, did this guy do it or not? And you could play back and forth. So that little smile was thought through, I guess, but also because you're talking to a jury, and at the beginning of it, that's the opening of the show.
Yeah.
He wanted to, you know, ingratiate himself to them. But yeah, those little behaviors are everything, and I think oftentimes it's not the words, it's the other stuff that makes a performance in particular.
Yeah, I tell the salespeople the same thing. You need to be smiling on the phone even if they can't see your face.
And more importantly, I think you need to try and find joy yourself.
Making that cold call, right?
Yeah, like you can smile as much as you want, but you know, you that's really important, and that's the, you know, that you can definitely feel.
Yeah, for sure. I had a sales rep once. It sounded like they were calling from the grave. I'm like, you got to stand up, you got to smile, and we'll be okay. It was like they started closing deals immediately.
Really?
Yeah. So just a few smiles, right?
Definitely.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about working hard so then you can have fun later. I had a mom that made me do my chores first, and then I could go out and see my friends, so I get that very well. But you have things that take over your whole life, right? It's losing weight, it's gaining weight, it's getting strong, it's remembering roles, it's reading scripts, it's a lot of different pieces that can take your whole life. How do you make sure that you're continuously pushing yourself, not to just go halfway? Because you have to kind of go all in, right? Or do you only go halfway?
No, I think, no, I think I love commitment to things, you know, I love the physical commitment to things, like I said, I love learning things, and it's like I'm about to go do Othello, and to me, the journey before it is, I love it, I'm digging deep, I'm understanding stuff, the stuff I don't understand, I'm trying to be humble and learn from the people who really know, who can teach me, even when I feel like, I think I should know this, you know, but I don't. But I also think there's also times for just like, because the best stuff comes when you're at ease, right? Like really, I'm always feel most myself when I'm at ease. So yeah, I like pushing myself. I like pushing myself in roles, finding roles. Like we joke about Roadhouse, but it was fun. It was like, I was like fighting Conor McGregor for fake, you know? You know, I was like...
That could be a little fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was definitely fun. But it was, you know, you're doing that and then you're playing the lawyer, you know, it's crazy.
Were you filming those at the same time?
Exactly the same, no.
Oh, really? I was going to say, I'm like, wow.
I was kind of actually, so we filmed some of the movie at a live UFC event. And we were supposed to film, we finished shooting Roadhouse, and I was supposed to finish and go right to the live UFC event in Vegas. And I got COVID the night before.
Oh.
And the only live UFC event was 2.5 months later in Las Vegas. But I started shooting the show. So I just had to keep training to that thing. And they let me out for a weekend to go shoot the UFC event. Yeah, it was amazing.
Fit it all in. Yeah,
it
was
amazing.
Really fun.
It was amazing.
So you like the, you know, one of the parts about like pushing yourself really hard is obviously the self-care pieces that keep you in the flow, keep you chill.
Yes.
What are your things you like to do to keep you chill?
It changes. I really believe in like a healthy lifestyle. I always have. I would love to, you know, be able to do what I do for as long as I can, you know, and then also, you know, be able to be healthy. So, and I always feel better when I am. I have recently gotten back into running, trying to run long distances, but
Don't run here. It's hard because the altitude. It'll make you feel like you can't run at all.
Oh, I just ran before this.
You
Should I
ran?
not have? I'm gonna take back the run I did before this. No, I think that's really important. I also I spend time with my family, and more as I get like older, with the people that I love.
Yeah.
And to me, that's it. They're for me, and hopefully for everyone here in this room. when you need them most, and that's all that matters to me in the end. And that puts me at ease. So.
Yeah. Good time with the family for sure. I have a big one as well. So.
And then also like some Nelly.
You're just sitting there, you're meditating a little, it's hot in here, it's going on in your ears, you know.
That's what I meditate to, yeah. And then when I run here, that I don't really play it, it's just playing in my
You're
head.
just singing it out loud as you go.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, one thing I did hear you do, and is cook.
Don't you feel a little bit like Nelly right now with these?
Yeah, I do. Maybe we'll get up and sing at the end. No, we'll go to the concert. Ours will be too good. No, but you cook?
I do, I cook. Oh, right, yeah.
What
I
kind
like
of
to
stuff do you cook?
Food?
So you're like, stick something in the microwave and call it cooking? Or are you like making some pasta?
No, I love to cook all food. I have kind of a weird thing of, I love reading cookbooks. It's like a thing, so, like
reading the pictures?
Reading pictures.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do.
Okay.
You got me. To read pictures. No, like I like to, there's always like a foreword and like, there's like sometimes chefs will write like a long thing, like lifestyle and those things. I like that, and I like recipes and I like learning recipes. So, but usually I also just love, a lot of my friends are cooks, so we cook together and I don't know, food. I cook food.
What's the best thing you cooked all week?
What did I cooked I cooked this, this is gonna sound odd. I cooked,
Cook some eggs.
No, I did cook eggs. I made an egg sandwich before I came here. Not right before I came here.
That would be weird at a hotel or something.
Yeah, no, I flew here this morning, very early
I think
morning.
that's back to the microwave again.
Yes. Made this is not gonna make me sound like sort of like a broccoli sort of pasta, but it was made with like pureed with the stem of broccoli. It's like a sort of Italian dish. It's good. Yeah.
What would you write in the book before if it was your cookbook?
It's getting hot in here. Did I get an applause for that?
I think you did.
Yes, thank you.
Oh man. Okay, so before we go into kind of a new theme, I do want to talk a little bit about those harder days, because I'm sure we all have them. You didn't have anything to cook that day, you had no family to be with, it's snowing.
I love snow.
It's really cold. Think Chicago. Like your eyelashes are sticking together. You
Are we
don't
doing
want
a
to
scene
get up.
right now? Or are we getting ready for a scene?
Yeah. I'm giving you your place. But like, how do you push through in those harder days? Because we're all human, right? We have the things that we do proactively to keep us in check. But we all get into it, and there's tougher days too.
I mean, there's so many things. I mean, I'm in a wonderful relationship. My family, I can't go back to my family. If I'm not near them and it's snowing and I don't have any.
And your eyelashes.
My eyelashes are falling.
Frozen.
Oh,
That
frozen.
used to happen to me a lot in Chicago. That's what I think about my hardest day.
Oh yeah, no, I've had frozen eyelashes. Wouldn't consider that a bad day, but that's okay. But I get your vibe.
It's dark outside. You're just sad.
Like nighttime?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's nighttime.
He hates night.
What do I do at night? I think to me, I really find in those times, the closest of my family. I had hard times, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
I'm glad you have them. They come up a lot.
I am very glad I have them too.
Yeah. And they're nearby. Mine are all over the country, so we
Not
have to
here.
like-
They're not here.
Yeah, actually, they came here. They're hiding
It's
out.
dark in here. And
Can't go.
My eyelashes are freezing.
You can't go on stage without your family behind there, so they're just waiting.
They're
for
all
you.
back there.
Watching it on screen.
Sorry, guys.
Another topic.
This is a good day, so I don't need.
Yeah, it's really good. It's sunny. It's nice. It's not dark outside.
Yes.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. So another thing that I think affects lawyers and affects actors, entrepreneurs, business people is this idea of kind of honing your craft and making sure that you are really leaning in and getting good at the pieces you want. So one of the things I think a lot of people think of you as an actor, which I don't know why they would think like that, but you do a lot of other things. You've written a book, you've done some voiceover stuff, you do Broadway. You know about these things, right? You've done these.
Yeah.
And you also own your own business, production company, yeah? So how has that diversification of skill set helped you along in your career?
Well, I think over time, I've been lucky enough to be an actor and to act, but I come from a family of people who tell stories, and they're expanded out into that world, and I think you start to feel like you want to be able to be a part of storytelling in a different way. My sister has written and directed, her own films. She has
Yeah, we all like her. You can call her after this and tell her behind stage.
She's backstage.
Yeah, she heard it.
She's not backstage, but I don't want to disappoint you. That's why it was a joke.
They all came here for Maggie.
No, they're Maggie fans, so I'm like, that's my big sister. So, I watched her, for instance, she wrote and directed her first film. She was nominated for 3 Oscars for that film. She's now she wrote and directed another movie, a big movie for Warner Brothers that comes out next year. That's going to be incredible, with Christian Bale and Jessie Buckley in it. Amazing.
I've never heard of those people.
Yeah. I have no funny retort for that. I find that expanding to me keeps me engaged. I do love to multitask. I'm the type of person who likes to be able to have a lot of things going on, even when I'm acting. I like to sort of push, the reason why, for instance, I really wanted to do Othello was not only to do Shakespeare and with Denzel Washington, which is
I do know who that is.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna list a couple names, and let's just do that.
Just see it in my eyes,
Okay, cool. Is to push myself into multitask, and in that way, I think being more entrepreneurial. I do love business. In order to be, I think, successful in anybody's work, it's not just the skill you have in the work, but the ability to choose, the ability to know how to choose, the ability to feel, not only the work, but also the world you're in and the markets you're in and all that. So to me, that's a very important part of my job. It always has been. And so I like to expand that. My company that I started was 8 years ago now, championing also filmmakers who people might not know about.
I definitely.
Particularly you.
Yeah.
And so that's really for me more as I get to do this more and more, venturing out into other forms, and it's so inspiring. It's so inspiring to watch other actors work. It's one of my favorite things to do. I like that actually even more than the job of acting itself, is to watch somebody else do it. So that's.
They get nervous to get notes from you after?
I don't really note them.
You don't note them. You
No,
just say, great job.
Yeah.
That's
Just
good.
like that. By the way, great job.
Yeah. So glad. Let's talk a little bit more about your company, because I heard you read a lot of contracts.
I do.
Yeah. And you don't have FileVine, and you have not used our AI.
No comment.
So talk a little bit about your collaboration with your lawyer or the legal team, and just kind of how I hear you read every single one. So
Now we're getting into real good questions. Here we go.
Yeah, right.
All right. I do. I've always found that it's important to take responsibility for whatever's, the particularly, contracts. It's important to me. I find it fun. It's another thing that's new. I mean, not all of it, but I do think that when you know what you're headed into, it's very important. And I don't put that responsibility really on anybody but myself and obviously my lawyers. They're a great team. I'm very close to my team, all my team, like my agents and, my lawyers and everybody in my life. And so it's a very, we're friends. And they know I like to get into the weeds of those things, and I enjoy it. And so I have always been into the contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also because when you read something and you don't know it, it's like very equivalent to me is like Shakespeare. It's like, if I read a contract, I'm like, this is like Shakespeare. I'm like, what does this mean, you know? And then I kind of get a little bit like, I want to know what that means. And then I get into the contract and I'm like, I don't want to know what that means. And then I let my lawyer do it.
Yeah, got it. So you highlight the parts you're like, not doing that part.
Yeah.
Move on.
Exactly. But now there's Filevine.
Yeah. Exactly.
None of us have to do
It's
it.
like your File Night fans or something out here. You want to talk a little bit about Shakespeare right now? Just
Do you know
in
him?
general? Yeah, I do know him. We go way back. You had to learn very different language, or you are learning, still learning very different language.
Yeah.
And much like you said, people reading contracts for the first time, I'm thinking, yes, you learn a lot in law school, but you walk out and all of a sudden you're like, this is on you got to do it. But how have you gone about mastering new terminology, new dialogue, you know, that kind of stuff?
Just digging and working until I understand it, you know? Like, there's so much of it. When I first got into it, I didn't understand it all. And I know my job is to help an audience understand it, because I've seen a lot of Shakespeare and I've been like, and I think that's the job to communicate, you know, the words. Like, and so when I don't understand, and if I don't understand, I need to be able to understand it. I'm not going to get everything all at once. There's so much brilliance in it, but you know, I've devoted the past 8 months to just working on that. Like, I'm not working on anything else except
for Filevine, right here.
except trying to put the pages into Filevine so that it can tell me what. No, but like I really have devoted myself to that, and it's been so interesting. I work with all different people, Shakespeare scholars, you know, speech and you know, rhythm experts, and just been working for, and hopefully we'll be able to, if any of you are able to come out to New York City between, you know, next year and June.
Yeah, when will you be on stage with Denzel? What day?
We will be
That's kind of creepy.
you like nobody, but you call Denzel by his first name. He and I will be on stage with a lot of other wonderful actors February 24th until June 9th on Broadway.
Go to Broadway, everyone. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
I can be your hype girl. I'll just stand outside and wave people in. Yeah.
Or the guy who was before, he's pretty
Eric's
good.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm like maybe a close third, but
He gives out prizes too.
I know.
Yeah.
Jake's hoping to win the trigger, so for all that cooking. Okay.
In the dark. Frozen.
Frozen eyelashes.
In a freezer,
right?
yeah. Yes.
Okay, so I think you started acting when you were officially, I mean, probably when you were younger, but 10?
Yeah.
10 years old? Okay, that was like just a few years ago, so that's not too bad.
Yeah.
What key principles have guided the decisions you've made, why you've done what you've done, what you've taken on? And has it changed, I guess, since you were 10?
No, not so, no. I was brought up in a family where my mother's a writer, so she's always said story is king, you know. And so I've kind of followed that adage for my whole career. You know, it's always story first, and you know, that's the most important thing to me. I think I'm more and more, I start to realize that I hone in on intuition and instinct when I've read something that's really gotten my instinct and intuition. It's usually always translated to the audience, you know, like people, we share that same thing. And so I try and really listen to that more and more. There are different times and phases in my career where I've listened to other people, or, you know, they've convinced me, or I've convinced myself after they've told me, and more and more I really, really trust my own instinct and some very wise people around me who may say, you know, there's also these things, and then my instinct goes, oh. But that's what I have tried to follow. I think there are many phases, gratefully, of my career. I think I've learned a lot. I've tried to prove myself to in an earlier stages in my career, prove that I knew what I was doing and that I could do it well, and that, and work as hard as I possibly could. And I think more and more now, I put the work in, but there's an ease, a little bit more of like, I know what's important in life. And I do mention my family for that reason, because I think when we work as hard as all of us, I'm sure, do here, we do end up spending some of that time that we could be spending in our lives really more devoted to our work. And I think our culture pushes that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing that I've always, as you said, in those times in my life, that I know I can always lean on are those people that I love in my family. And so to me, that's what I am in my life, really giving the time to. And my work, obviously I'm committed to it, but my life takes precedence. So that's changed.
Yeah.
When I was 11, I think my life took precedence. I hope so. And then throughout other phases, it was just all work. That's different now.
And now you're trying to find that balance, or I guess you have found that balance, it sounds like.
I'm trying. I think
It's a process,
Yes.
I think. We all think that. I mean, all of these folks decide to spend time with us to learn more about legal when they could have been doing something else, because they all care about their craft as well, too.
But I also think it's great because you've created an environment here where everybody seems like is having a good time and has probably met new people that will influence their lives, and they'll be able to make connections or have made connections. So that's a mix, and that's great.
Yeah, I think they really just came for Nelly, but other than that, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry for Jake. Oh,
He's next.
it was for Jake. Yeah, it came for Jake.
Oh, by the way, who doesn't come for this? It's music. It's the best.
We found out backstage that Jake is a super fan, so. Okay, you said you became one today, okay? So one of the things I think that I actually was watching an interview with you to make sure I could do this and I wouldn't, be stressed or something.
Yeah.
And you had talked about imagination and bringing that into your day-to-day and not making it so black and white all the time, but trying to break out of that. How do you stay creative even when someone's handing you a script and saying, do this thing? Or you're reading a contract, trying to stay creative.
The contract thing is actually very creative to me, because there are so many situations that you find yourself in the experience of the job you do, where you remember the scenario. So you go, well, what about this scenario, that scenario, or what if this happened? I remember when that happened, or well, this could, or I've heard from someone that's a possibility. So there's so many endless possibilities you're thinking about, and that's fun. That I do find that creative. It's the same thing in a scene. You're thinking about all the possibilities, and that is, to me, that's so, it's everything, that's so exciting. Your mind's working all the time, endless possibilities, and you're choosing some of them, or you're trying to, that is actually, joking aside, I'm in awe of a lawyer's mind when they can think of all those possibilities, or many, many possibilities, and experience definitely brings that. That is an incredible skill. I deeply admire it.
Yeah, especially to do it live in a courtroom when anything could go any which way. You can practice as many times as you want. This might happen to you on Broadway, so just wanted to let you know, make sure you're ready.
And you joke, but I did do a monologue on Broadway, and one of the things that the director had said to us was it was me alone on a stage, and she sort of gave us permission that whatever happened, we could respond to. There wasn't a sense of, there wasn't really a sense of, I'm acting here. It was a real communal experience. And
pulling the audience in.
Well, yeah, it was a very emotional thing. It was very emotional monologues that we did. Me and this wonderful actor, Tom Sturridge, did a monologue before me, and then the second act was my monologue. And, I was telling a story about the death of this character's father and the birth of his daughter. And in that, a lot of people had their responses, and we were open to that. And the response back and forth, people had many emotional things, and it was just one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had nightly, where you get into a room with people, you share a story, and you share your experiences. And it's the magic of the moments that you couldn't expect that I think actually make it alive. And you can get into a rut. I guess that's what I mean,
Yeah.
more of like when you practice too much, when you
Yeah.
you push too much into it, then you can lose the opportunity to be present when something happens. And that's what, would happen. And I'm sure that there are things like that. But when the stakes are as high as they are in a courtroom, they're not the same stakes in any form. To be available and open to that is
Yeah.
probably what you would want to be, right?
Absolutely.
I can't speak to
Seeing the expressions of everyone in the courtroom, knowing how to react, knowing how to be still prepared but not over prepared. I hear you on that for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I'm going off script, but this is my curiosity taking over. Day one, when you did that monologue versus the last time you did it, what changed? Like,
Oh, the first time I did it in front of an audience.
yeah, like opening night versus like closing night, I guess.
Well, we did it off Broadway for about 3 months, and then we brought it to Broadway. So I had about 7 months with the piece, and I had about a 2-month break in between before we brought it to Broadway. So the first time I ever performed it, I just wasn't in my body. I was just desperate to get through it, You were just sort of like,
know what happened.
no, and you couldn't really assign, you could be really present, You try, but you couldn't. It was only after performance, knowing that there were moments that repeated themselves, the writer wrote this beautiful thing that would always get a laugh in the same place and had nothing to do with me. That would happen. And then so the last performance, I didn't even have to think about it, And it was a very emotional one because a lot of people came back who had seen it for the last performance, so people had seen it move through. I don't know, there are many, many stories of that journey that are so fun because, I remember one night I went up on a line, just up on I just didn't remember, and I just thought an eternity went by, and we have a stage manager over on the side, and he's on the book reading the lines, and he's going, and I just didn't know what to do, and I was like, what do I do? And I just said, I'm just gonna walk over and ask for my line. I just walked over and I asked for my line, and it was so great. It was so live. I mean, we hold ourselves to those standards. It has to be, but the things that are magic are when those things happen.
Yeah, I can imagine coming from things that are being filmed, you can just say, cut, let's start over. There, you're like...
That's actually interesting you say that. I also love, I really try not to, as best as I can, ever do that, because the one thing I have learned throughout this work is that really interesting things happen that you're not aware of. And the stage does bring that, it's really the director's job to say cut. And you could be lost, and that could be so captivating. I mean, and talk about the moments in between when you say the smile. How many times we watch something where you lean in because you don't know. Oftentimes that could have been something where someone went up on a line and you don't know. I think those moments can be magical.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking, I haven't seen very many blooper reels of you, so you must be making it through pretty good. I did my research.
There's plenty of that, I think.
So, obviously you chose this path. You've been on it just for a few years so far, and what if you weren't an actor, businessman? What would you want to be?
A lawyer. That was not an enthusiastic applause, but glad you would want me to be a part of your plan. Thank you so much. I don't know. I love what I do.
So nothing else?
I've been asked that question times, and to be honest with you, I think I'm so grateful for what I do, and that I don't want to do anything else.
That's awesome. So you say you like what you do, but you do a lot of different things. You don't just do one thing every day like some people do.
Yeah.
How do you manage all of the different plates spinning at the same time?
I don't know. No, I think I have a wonderful team of people.
To help.
Yeah, I just work with some of the smartest people in my work and in my business. They are all so, this is a team, you know? Everyone says that, but it's a team of people. I am so wonderfully represented. I really care about making relationships, like I said, with people I work with. We're friends. Yes, we do business, and I think we're very clear about that too. Managing, again, I love doing a lot of things. I've just found that, you know, you manage as a kid. I couldn't keep my head in one place, and I've found a job and different jobs to be able to manage that.
Yeah, that's fair. So you picked something that let your brain go all over the place.
Yeah.
So one of the things it was a topic here, you weren't here so you don't know, was around context switching and going from basically you're on stage to now you're going to read a contract to now, I don't know, you're going to come up on stage with me and talk to a bunch of lawyers.
Yes.
You got any tips or tricks for clearing the mind and doing something different?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yes, I do. You do have to try and focus on the present and where you are. If I'm in this position right now, there's a lot of people out here, and obviously, as in our being watched from, it doesn't feel uncomfortable, but I'm sure you feel like, you know, as a performer, you're like, wait, there's all these lights.
I don't sit up on stage a lot for my job. But.
Oh, you should.
Thank you.
Great.
I'm going to do one of these.
Yeah. You can see a movie with you and Christian Bale at some point.
Okay.
I'll tell you about movies.
Learn who he is first.
But I think that, I think for me, you have to do, you have to do enough work, you know. And you try as best as you can to be present where you are. My sister once, I remember her pulling me aside. It was a big event, and it was a celebration, and she does this. I'm her little brother, so you know this.
You just let her.
It'll never change, yeah. And I remember just saying, like, just stop for a second, just like look around, like look where you are, check it out. And I think about that a lot, that advice a lot, because if I can stop and pay attention to the thing that I'm doing in front of me, like, I feel so, most of the time what I'm engaged in is I'm so happy to be doing it, you know, but I can rush over it really fast, and I have many times.
Yeah.
I also think a little bit of pause is profoundly important and can go much farther than we all think.
Yeah. Deep breath, step away for a second, have a sister tell you remember where you are, right?
And it's just,
yeah. I think that's super smart. I think it's easy to get wrapped up. You said something about like the culture we all live in is like speed, go, look online, do this, go there. So to be able to kind of take a step back. And they should all be really proud of where they all are, right? And so they can take a moment and say, wow, I'm here, I'm doing something for myself, I'm listening to Jake Gyllenhaal, and I'm living in the moment. So
let's rephrase that.
Sorry, there's my edit.
I've come this far. I've had a great time. I get to listen to Nelly. There we go. That's it. See? Do that. See?
It's like you've done this before. I'll never stack up.
I know what the people want.
Yeah, I think you've been interviewed before or something. I'm not really sure. I don't think this is your first one. Okay, so you said something, I think I was reading an article, and you said something like you like to take things on that kind of freak you out. You don't like to take on the things that are like, oh, he would do that, or you feel comfortable with it. But, I mean, much like maybe forgetting a line on stage or it not being the right fit for you, like, that could be kind of scary.
Yeah.
Why do you do that? How can you do that?
Why
not? Why
not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Do you feel like you're growing from it?
Absolutely, every time.
Okay.
I'm not saying I do it all the time. I'm saying I want every time, you get that feeling of like, oof, maybe this is something I can't handle or too much, or someone else should do that who knows what they're, really? I mean, before and I think that's the one, I think that's the thing that, listening to the things more and more that go, oh, that's not a comfortable place. It's a place that's going to make me grow from it, and I think that is, I try to listen to that. I don't always listen to that, but I definitely try to.
What's the role that freaked you out the most?
I'm gonna say, I don't know about freak. I was like, did I say
Freak out might be,
freak out?
you did say freak out, they like put it in quotes.
Oh, okay.
You said it, so.
The theme of that idea is not really. I mean, I don't think. I think the challenge of it for me, I'm headed into one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm headed into one with one of the greatest living actors and someone who I've admired since I was
10.
Yeah, but didn't even know, and throughout is just and working on words from probably arguably one of the greatest writers to ever live, and so that's a challenge. And I can't wait, and
Do you get nervous around him?
No,
that's
not
fine.
like that. But I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool.
I can't wait.
I've seen like every Denzel movie, for real, I'm not making that up.
Really?
Yeah, I really have, I really know who he is.
There's some other people you should watch. I don't want to, and you do what you got to do.
But Denzel and I go way back.
You're busy,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's other.
So, as we think about, our time's almost wrapping up here, so let's think about what's next for you. Who do you want to work with most next after Denzel? Because that's really cool. Cool people.
I don't really think that way, really. I don't really have I think I'm often surprised by, there are definitely people I admire, filmmakers I admire, people I would love to work with. That feels pretty standard to me. I think I'm often surprised by who I really vibe with creatively is not always the people that I would expect, and so I'm just, I never know, I'm just sort of searching for people who inspire me, and then I'll move in that way. I mean, I remember when I met the director Denis Villeneuve. I don't know if you know him. He directed the Dune movies and many others. When I met him, I didn't know one. I mean, he was a well-known director in Canada, but it wasn't in the canvas that he has now. And I met him, and I just loved him as a person, and I was like, this guy is a kindred spirit. And we made movies, and then he's gone on to make all these incredible films. And so I'm looking for people that I just have that connection with. You don't know where that'll be. And then there are the greatest hits. I would love to work with Paul Thomas Anderson or Pedro Almodovar. There are a lot of filmmakers I would love to work with.
That's awesome. I think that's really important, is working with people you jive with. It's one of the main reasons I came to work at Filevine. One, because of the people that work at Filevine, but also because of all the customers.
Yes.
I don't think I'd be doing this if it wasn't for them, so.
Intuition.
Yeah, I came in, I was like, these guys are legit. And now you know, so you're gonna tell your lawyer to buy Filevine.
Yeah.
So, let's kind of wrap this up. I don't know how this time flew by as fast as it did, but is there anything else? You've got a room full of lawyers, legal professionals, business owners, fans of Nelly, Jake, Camille Vasquez, The Innocence Project. Maybe that's why people came. But any other comments you want to make around the art of storytelling, business ownership, things you learned, life? I don't know. You seem to have a lot of good things to say, so I just want to give you a little bit of
just sort of like a kind of...
Yeah, goodbye everyone, this is what I have to say.
Yeah, okay. Closing argument, so to speak.
Yeah, closing argument.
I need a writer. I don't know. First of all, I would just like to say that I'm honored to be here with all of you, and I will say that your profession is one that, even though I was joking, I deeply admire. And some of the smartest people I know, lawyers in particular, are so interested in so many other facets of the world. And I learned so much from my lawyer, not just about the things we do in our work together, but outside of the world, things he's interested in. He is a really wise, very fair man, and it's what I love about him most. No matter how good he is at what he does in his work, that's what I admire. And so I'm just honored to be with all of you. I'm sure you're all the same. I think for me, this is what my life's brought me, right? Like, to be able to be in front of all of you is an honor, because my life and my work has brought me here. And the same for you guys, in one way or another. I am, the preface to Nelly. But I really believe in that, and I really think that that's pretty amazing. And I really do, when I say I'm grateful and honored to be here, I mean that, because I am. So, yeah.
I did.
I do think that that's the basis of sort of anything, right, in entrepreneurialism, like being an entrepreneur, and I think that's important. You can't just start from something that you think is going to work. You have to feel it works. You have to know it. You have to believe in it. There's so many hours spent doing what we all do in the many different ways we do it. You really have to believe in it, and you have to love it somewhere. And that's really important. And if you're lucky enough to do a job that you can do that in, keep doing it and give it your all.
Yeah.
It's a very lucky position to be able to be in, to be able to do that. Yeah.
I agree.
Keep doing that.
Well, let's all put our hands together to thank Jake for coming and joining us.